Hi everyone, Chris here with my end of year roundup video showing my top New Zealand records of 2013. It's an ever-changing list, but today this is what I think of the pick of what have been a great raft of releases over the years. So one of the things that's happened this year, there's been a whole bunch of reissues, a lot of material that either has been out of print for many years or never got released on vinyl has come out. So I'll start off with a few notable examples of that. First up, She Had, Churn. This came out for Record Store Day. Their first LP, produced by Jazz Coleman from Killing Joke, never released on vinyl, just 300 copies put out for Record Store Day. It sounds fantastic, it's stonking. It's kind of, they started as a metal band. This shows their post-punk influences coming through loud and clear. I don't know if this really works as a reissue because it was never issued in the first place, but it comes from archival release label Unbooked from Germany. They've been releasing a whole series of Christchurch music from the 80s this year, and this is The World, recorded for Flying Nun in the 80s and never released, now seeing vinyl and the light of day for the first time, and my pick of the Unbooked releases of this year. This was a 90s release on an American label, Garbage in the Flowers. Eyes Rind as If Beggars. It's lo-fi, Velvet Underground influenced guitar, indie guitar, very lo-fi, very Velvet Underground, kind of stoned, velvety jams, great stuff, and given a really nice reissue on Fire and Bow Weevil. And last of the reissues, or archival releases, this just out on Exiled Records. It's the Renderers, Measured, Strychnine and Invitations. It's a compilation. Only one Renderers LP was ever released on vinyl, a couple of singles, so really nice to have material which has only been on CD, now out, compiled here on Exiled. On to new releases, notable new releases of 2013. Sound Recordings are a favourite label of mine, doing all analogue, not for profit. So they're recording analogue recordings, analogue mastering, producing only on vinyl. They put a few releases out this year. This is The Conjurers, The Six Trials of Hercules. What could we call this? Kind of psych soul? Garage soul. Garage soul is a better description. And limited release. Again, I think they're only doing 100, 120 odd copies, screen printed covers, and sold at cost price. Great stuff, anything from Sound Recordings to be recommended. I had to toss up between a couple of releases from Little Chief Records. This is from the head of Little Chief Records, Jonathan Bree, formerly of the Brunettes. The Primrose Path, melancholic orchestral pop. Yeah, really great stuff. And not a million miles away from that, and on the same label, Ego Spect, Sheepdog and Wolf is the artist, Ego Spect the album. This is a solo project. There's just multiple layers of voices and instrumentation here, again kind of melancholic pop, and yeah, many layers of instrumentation, really highly thought through and structured songs. Quite innovative and interesting. And next up is one that we're listening to now. This is Christoph El Truente, What We Used to Know. It's kind of ambient electronica with field recordings. So not really kind of a dance record, but yeah, I think he's in his 20s, a solo project. He's pretty prolific. This is the only one out he's got out on vinyl. It's on Gravity. This record just blows me away. It's probably my pick of the year, to be honest. Yeah, it's Mechatronics from the All Seeing Hand. This is a trio of turntables, guitar and throat singing, and it's relentless and intense. Absolutely stunning, amazing artwork. Everything about this is just incredible. It's not for the faint-hearted, but I'd say my pick of 2013 New Zealand vinyl releases. This was an early contender on my list as well, Beast War's second album, Blood Becomes Fire. Again, released around Record Store Day, though not a Record Store Day release. different versions of it, black vinyl, red vinyl, and the limited red and blue, red and yellow vinyl. This is heavy riffing, really intense, heavy riffs, great stuff, really powerful. And incidentally, Beast Wars also feature on my 7-inch of the year, released by Wellington record label Rough Peel Records, an offshoot of the store Rough Peel Records. So Rough Peel Music's the label. There's a split single between the Eastern and Beast Wars. 2 versions of this out, one on yellow vinyl, one on green, covering each other's songs. American label Grapefruit is a subscription only series. You can buy them individually, however, through their site. Limited editions of around 300. They featured 2 New Zealand artists in their releases for 2013. Bill Doreen and the Renderizers, which is the Renderers really, but in more experimental form. So 2 vinyl releases from them. Vivid Cloud Lucky Din, inspired by residency of Mary Rose Crooks in Xinjiang province of China, excuse the pronunciation. The Manta Rays. This is another one actually from Rough Peel Music, and they've just put out another release as well, their 3rd vinyl release for the year, which is Cake Kitchen. So this is instrumental, kind of organ driven, kind of surfy, kind of think of Booker T and the MGs, bit of kind of surf. They put out a limited number on blue, the rest on black. Yeah, really recommend that. I know it's a favourite of lots of others around, including Cafe Dre, who does the great Waxed on Wednesdays radio show. Sam Hamilton, Intergrapholia. This is the 2nd album. And it's much more accomplished than the first, I think. More song structure to it. How would you describe it? It's well, it's kind of, it's pop music, but it's he comes at it from odd angles, and it's very kind of influenced by, I think, a kind of love of nature. And my favourite track on here is Future Generations Will Thank Us for the Roads We've Never Built, and that was put out with help from Creative New Zealand. Right at the start of the year, Unknown Mortal Orchestra put out their 2nd album, 2. Great psych pop from New Zealander Ruben Nielsen, formerly of the Mint Chicks, now a resident of Portland in the States. And they also put out later in the year Blue Record, which takes some of the songs on here but performed acoustically. Makes a nice companion piece to this. But a great record. And finally, in this roundup of 2013 records, one that's just out. This has only been out a couple of weeks, and I love it. 2 Wolves, the roar and peal of distant thunder. So this kind of amped up blues, stoner rock. It's a concept album based on stories of the Old West, both stories from Australia and the States, a lot of them based on written literature or films. So there's things in here based on the Nick Cave movie The Proposition, on The Good, the Bad and the Ugly from Sergio Leone, from a novel called Blood Meridian. So yeah, great stuff from a young band from Auckland. I'm really pleased to see that. Excuse the phone ringing in the background, I'm just going to ignore that. So that's my roundup of 2013 favourite releases. Ask me tomorrow and it could be a different list, but that'll do for now. If you check out the Facebook page, facebook.com/countingthebeat, you'll also find a link to my radio show where I do a roundup of 2013, 2 hours of releases from this year. Thanks for watching, thanks for all your comments and feedback during the year, and I wish you all the best.